Good morning, ABC family. Welcome back to another Kids Talk. Last week, we started a new video series entitled Bible Detectives because I want you to grow in your love for Jesus by understanding how to study the Bible. And we talked about 3 keys to being a good Bible detective. ABC family, do you remember what those keys were? Observation, interpretation, and application. Every Bible detective is skilled in these 3 areas. Observation is asking the question, what do I see? Interpretation is asking the question, what does it mean? Application is asking the question, what do I do? And I asked you to practice being a Bible detective by examining a famous Bible passage, the feeding of the 5,000. The feeding of the 5,000 is an extraordinary miracle that features Jesus, the disciples, and the crowd. We see Jesus feed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. This miracle takes place in a remote place where there is no access to food, and it occurs during the middle of Jesus' ministry to reveal something about Jesus. ABC family, if you remember, the feeding of the 5,000 occurs in all 4 Gospels. And this week, we'll look at Matthew's version of this miracle to see what he was trying to reveal about Jesus. If you've not had a chance to read Matthew's account, pause the video and go to Matthew 14 to read through it and practice observation. Okay, so let's get to work on observation. One observation I made related to Matthew's eyewitness account is context, the context of the passage. ABC family, look at how Matthew begins his version of the feeding of the 5,000. In his account, he writes, when Jesus heard what had happened. Matthew starts his version by referencing an event that happened right before the feeding of the 5,000. Do you know what event that is? It's when Herod executes John the Baptist. It is a picture of Jesus being rejected by Roman power. And this event is preceded by another event, when the Jews rejected Jesus. Matthew's account of the feeding of the 5,000 is framed by these 2 events to emphasize Jesus' authority being rejected. Another observation I made was additions. ABC family, Matthew has some words and phrases unique to his account. One of these unique additions is found in Matthew 14:19, where it says, Jesus ordered the crowds. Ordered is a strong command and is only found in Matthew. A final observation that I made, missing. ABC family, compared to the other gospel accounts, Matthew has some details that are missing or limited. Specifically, Matthew doesn't talk about the disciples that much. When you read Mark and Luke's account, you'll see how they start by talking about the disciples rather than Jesus. In John's account, you'll see lots of details of the disciples' involvement in the miracle. But with Matthew, most of these details are absent. Now that we've made these observations, let's go to interpretation. ABC family, what does all this mean? What does the context of Jesus being rejected, additions showing Jesus ordered the crowd to sit, or the lack of details related to the disciples and their involvement, what do all these things point to? These details show us that Matthew is really focusing on Jesus. He's focusing on Jesus, not the disciples or the crowds. And he's doing this to reveal that Jesus is the King. Everything in Matthew's gospel is revealing how Jesus is the coming Messiah and he is the King. Details like ordered point to Jesus' authority and kingship. And so this miracle takes place right after Jesus' kingship is rejected by both Jews and Romans. And so we see Jesus is trying to withdraw to a remote place. Yet, despite his rejection as the rejected king, he still has the power and compassion to do a miracle and feed the 5,000 with only 5 loaves and 2 fish. ABC family, Matthew uses the feeding of the 5,000 to let us know that Jesus is King. So now that we know what it means, let's move to application and answer. What can we do? Matthew wants us to recognize, worship, and obey Jesus as the King. He's warning us that the Jews and Roman powers who rejected Jesus as King to not be like them. Rather, we are to humble ourselves in worshipful obedience to the King who does extraordinary miracles like the feeding of the 5,000. So, Bible detectives, let's put this into practice and worship Jesus the King. Next Sunday, we'll examine Mark's account of the feeding of the 5,000. ABC family, again, I encourage you to read through it ahead of time and practice being Bible detectives. You can find the feeding of the 5,000 in Mark chapter 6. I'll see you next time.